Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and today is such an exciting day because we're starting draft 2 of my book. So for those of you who are new around here or have forgotten, this is Project Astra. I finished the first draft of this book in March. So that was a bit over 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks ago. Wow, a lot has happened in those 3 weeks. I started uni in those 3 weeks. Of course, now that I'm like, oh my god, uni is so busy, I don't have time to do any of the readings. Naturally, what am I going to do? Get back into writing. It is almost 100,000 words. It's 99,562. I wrote it over the course of about 4-ish months. I started it November 10th last year as an attempt at NaNoWriMo. It did fail, but it got me started. And it's a YA fantasy book, kind of loosely inspired by the 1920s. It's a dual point of view where these two girls, who are the two main characters, they both run away essentially to join the circus. But the circus is kind of run by this like mad scientist, evil, crazy type person. And the circus is like the most famous circus in the world. But it's also like people are scared of it, but they also still come and see it and all these weird stuff that is in the circus. So they run away to join the circus, and it's this big competition to see who will get in, and they fall in love. So what the plan is I am going to read through all of this just to get the vibe, because I have a feeling that maybe it's better than I think it is. I hope. But while I was writing it, I also made a couple of notes. I'd say a couple. It looked a lot less when it was on my computer than when it was printed out. Just about anything that I thought needed changing or that wasn't good, or if I had an idea for like a subplot or a world building aspect I could include. So I have some pens and highlighters and a notebook here, and I'm going to read through my manuscript, take notes on anything that I think, oh, I dropped my pen. Take notes on anything that I think is like, it's just something that I think of, so I can have all my thoughts down. And then I'm going to read through each of these and maybe sort through them based on which ones I think are still like applicable or not. Is it applicable or applicable? I don't know. I don't know how to speak, guys. So I'm 3 pages in and already, guys, what was I doing? On the first page of like the first official chapter, I'm just like describing the world, and it is so like, imagine an alchemist across the street. An alchemist? There are no fucking alchemists in this book. The magic comes from cards. It comes from playing cards. It doesn't come from alchemists. I think I overestimated how much of this was going to be what I pictured in my head. I'm not going to lie. I'm on chapter 2. I think I'm going to have to change this to first person because this is not hitting. I don't know if it's because it's in third person or if it's because the specific style I chose. I know in the future of the book, I'm trying less hard to have a unique voice, and maybe it's better, but just at the moment, everything feels so surface level and shallow, like I'm not invested at all. I am only like 10 pages in, but still. Character just made a life-altering decision in 3.2 seconds. Up to chapter 4, and I'm getting a lot more into it, but my character just did the most funny thing. It is now several weeks later, if you couldn't tell. My hair is a slightly different colour. I am on my mid-semester break for uni. Also, heads up, sorry for talking really quietly. I will try to fix this when I edit it, but my brother is sleeping. Also, again, sorry for the lighting. It is nighttime. If you couldn't tell by the state of my room right now, I'm kind of overwhelmed. But that's okay, because you know what we did do? We did finally finish the read-through of Project Astra. Woo! So what I did when I was reading through this probably wasn't the best idea, is I kind of read through it in 3 parts, which isn't ideal because I can't really see the through lines of everything. General overview, right? The voice, I know I was saying I wanted to change it to first person and like it was trying too hard, I wasn't vibing with it. I definitely settled into that a lot more as the book went on. I feel like I kind of found it. I kind of found my characters as well. Certain moments with between the two main characters, I was like, oh my gosh, guys, I'm like gay panicking over my own characters. This is so like, oh my gosh. Love their chemistry in some moments, was kind of cringy in others, but you know, we have material to work with. And I found like all of the big plot points were written kind of bad, and then there was just like a random scene of all the characters having dinner together, and I was like, why is this a masterpiece? Why? Like the random transition scenes that aren't even like supposed to be there, that I could theoretically cut out and it wouldn't make a difference to the story. Why are they the best written scenes in this whole book? So all of that random stuff, like the characters and the actual like words, pretty good. The plot is absolute shit. Which, look, I kind of knew that it would have a lot of work because I pantsed most of this book. Don't know why I decided to do that. It was kind of boring and the ending didn't make sense. I mean, I knew the ending didn't make sense because it's based on a magic system that doesn't exist until literally 2 seconds before the ending happens. But I thought that what I would just have to do is take a lot of scenes that were someone's point of view, put them into someone else's point of view, add some more scenes between the characters, make the action scenes better, maybe shift some of them around. But no, there's this whole competition, right? So there's all these different trials. I think the first one is an audition, and the second one is like a heist sort of situation, and then in between the second one and the third one there's like little mini death round audition kind of things, and then there's like a masquerade ball where they have to solve a riddle, and then there's a like Loki Hunger Games ripoff one where they just get chucked into a random circus tent and are trapped there with a bunch of monsters, and whoever survives after 3 days, you're in the circus. Now that I think about it, it doesn't have the right vibe of what I want it to be. So what I'm thinking is that I need to completely make up new trials, or like kind of have some bits from old ones but then merge it through, and then parts that happened at the masquerade ball with the riddle, that would be really good as like a middle thing where they meet the patrons, because there's this really cool system that I only invented in the last quarter of the book that I want to put throughout the whole thing. So maybe I will get some sticky notes and I'll like write out ideas for the trials and kind of like plot it.
Good morning. It is now the next day and Southern apparently. Howdy y'all. No, I'm gonna stop that. I'm just taking all of this stuff off my pinup board so that I can put the sticky notes there in chronological order to see the overview of my story. And oh my gosh, that's the little voodoo doll of me getting hung. Yeah, it was in a production of The Crucible. We don't talk about it. It looked a lot more like me when I actually had blonde hair, but yeah, I was Proctor. I got hung. Lol.
Guys, I don't know what I'm doing. If you could see, I made my little key with all the different subplots. I'm going to use the different color coding as a strategy to keep track of all the different plots, because I'm realizing that there's a lot of different through lines. Like, they all connect together. Like, some of the subplots that I divided into 2, they're kind of like the same thing, but like different aspects of it. But then I was like, how am I supposed to do this if I don't know how I'm restructuring this? My board is divided into multiple sections. If you can see, this top one is Act 1. And this is like first half of Act 1, second half of Act 1. This is Act 2, first half and second half. This line here is the midpoint. And Act 3. So my issue, like I guess there's a couple spacing issues with where the challenges will go, but like there's also kind of not, because this part is filled out with more subplots. My issue is with what the challenges like actually are. When I wrote this book, I wanted it to be more about theatre. And if you're reading, if you pick up a book about a circus, you would want to see more circusy things. You don't want to see them randomly pulling off a heist. You want to see them like performing, auditioning. Like, I'm trying to think of aspects of theatre life that could translate into challenges. And then I was thinking, what if there were like rehearsals? So maybe there's a performance for the patrons to see. I like how I have the main audition and then like the little mini rounds of auditions for the patrons. I feel like that's cool, but I feel like there needs to be a rehearsal for something, like a long running rehearsal period, because that is very theatre life. What if there weren't specific challenges? Like, I had the idea just a couple minutes ago, what if stuff that you have to do, you're just living life, and then they just kind of come out of nowhere? Maybe in one of the rehearsals, some of the like, it could be like a fun house. I've got to write that down. The registration and the audition could be combined. You have to do an audition at the registration. Yes. Okay, that was really exciting. That was really dramatic, but I feel like I definitely have, this is a better idea. This is a much more solid idea. Like Funhouse and like how it can kind of come out of anywhere. That's more of like a fairground concept, but I feel like that in itself is more of a circus concept, and I want it to be creepy and kind of freaky. Like, you know, Luna Park, the face. That's the kind of like the creepy face. That's the kind of vibes that this new idea has given me the direction to, which is good because I want this to be kind of creepy, but like in a fun way. Also, it's not horror, but like the stakes will be there. I have started putting things on the board. The top line is what it currently is in the book, and then the bottom line is how I'm planning to restructure it. The midpoint was this trial right here in the first book, but I don't know, the midpoint could be either one of these three, but I don't know. And also, what happens in Act 3? Absolutely nothing. Like, technically I don't have anything for Act 1, but I know all the stuff that's going to go in there. That's the thing. Like, it's changed from the first, like, draft, but I know exactly how it's changed. But this, I don't even friggin' know. My thing is, this is the first book in a duology, right? But I still want it, because when you're querying, they don't necessarily like picking up duologies from debut authors because they don't even know if they're going to sell one book, let alone two. So what I want it to do is for it to sort of resolve the main plot of the book, but then have extra plot points added onto that are like unresolved. In the first draft, absolutely nothing was resolved at all. Absolutely nothing. But I think the problem that I have with that is I actually have no idea how this is going to resolve. Because there's this whole plot with the gods, and I know, like, even looking forward to the second book, I don't know how they're actually going to feed it. I don't know how they're going to defeat the villain. I don't know what the villain's motivation is. I don't know why some stuff happened. You know what I think the problem is? I think the problem is that I have absolutely zero world building. Maybe I should go work on that for a bit so I'm not just banging my head against the wall in terms of trying to figure out what order to put these things in. The way that I wrote this book, I had a little bit of the world building before I started, but then that evolved into a different world building, so there's like kind of world building in the second half, but it's not world building around the lore of these gods, which is kind of what it needs to be. And I also need to work on developing the magic system, right? Because it's a magic system based on playing cards, but I know how I want it to work, but I don't know how it works. So I bought this like fresh pack of playing cards, and what I did a while ago was I stopped one halfway through, look at that. I was looking up tarot cards, right? And how they correspond with the suits of cards. And then I've been writing their meanings on the back. So then in spells, because they're gonna use them to, I guess, sort of like read tarot or like read fortunes or something, but also using it to cast spells. And then when they cast spells, then I know what cards need to be included in the spell for it to work, because I know the meaning of it. But I've currently only done 3.5 cards, and I don't really know anything about tarot cards. I have some tarot cards. Do I know how to read them? Absolutely not. So there's this one girl's videos that I've been watching, like really breaking down the meaning and the meaning in reverse as well, and it's been super helpful. But all of the videos, like for a single card, are like 10 minutes long. So I don't really want to do that now. I also need to draw a map and write the history of this planet, I guess. It's kind of too hot and sunny to go for a walk right now. So maybe I'll bake. Maybe I will bake. Bake in the kitchen. A dream then dash another. Life is there to interrupt someone else. Hello, it is a new day. I have made a little map. This is just a rough idea. I need to think of names and like where all the different like major points are, but I'm going to transfer this onto watercolor so I can like paint it in with cute little paints. I wasn't actually going to do this today. The call time for our show today is 12, and just have some extra time. Oh, if I haven't said already, I'm in a production of Ride the Cyclone. Hence the shirt. It's been a couple of hours. I have done my makeup. I have yet to do my hair. But in that time, I created this cute little map. The yellow is for the like, I don't know how to explain it without giving away the plot of my book. It's kind of like the area where all the main people don't like go. The grey is the city and the green is wild places. Here it's yellow because it's like desert. It's not a very detailed map, but I feel like it gives me enough of an idea to vibe it out. Maybe I should add a compass at the bottom. Maybe that would help if I have to explain where something is. There we go. That's a cute little compass there. Kind of wonky. I also might add a little fairy route. Fairy. How do I say that? Fairy. I drew that on there just for like my original map. Just for the sake of I need to know where this character goes when she catches the fairy. So I might draw that on here, but I actually kind of have to go. I'm excited because a lot of my family and my friends are coming to see the show today. Don't mind my face. It is very round. It is swollen because I got my wisdom teeth out a couple of days ago. I look like I belong in Alvin and the Chipmunks. So I've done a couple things since I last talked to you. I drew the fairy routes on the map. I actually panicked today because I low-key lost this, and then I found it. It just fell down the back of my desk. I also wrote a synopsis of my entire book, not as it currently is in the first draft form, but with all of the extra ideas for plot threads and how more so I wanted it to go towards the end. And then what I did was I took the synopsis and I broke it down into acts so that I could kind of see when the midpoint and everything is. Many of you may know V.E. Schwab's writing podcast No Right Way, and on that she mentioned one time about how she likes to, instead of thinking about her book in acts, she thinks about it in 8 sort of episodes. So act 1 is 2, Act 2 is 4 episodes and Act 3 is another 2 episodes, with each episode having their own little arc, and how that helps her avoid having, like, you know, the problem in the middle of the book where you're like, I don't know what's going on, I don't know what to put here, if this is making sense, if this is engaging. And I was like, that sounds like a smart idea. So then what I did was I put it all into episodes, and with each episode has a little inciting incident, a midpoint, and an all is lost moment. And after those, I had a decision for my characters to make sure that they have their own agency and actually do things. Because one of the things I noticed in my first draft was that they either didn't make their decisions, or they made their decisions based on things that did not make sense at all. I haven't outlined anything past episode 6 because the ending is very dependent on what happens before it, but I still don't know what order things are happening in. This has definitely given me an idea, but as I was doing this, I was like, dang it, I think too much happens in this book, but also not enough at the same time. Like, a lot of stuff is happening, but it all feels meaningless and pointless and not engaging to the reader. But whatever, I'm sure it'll be fine. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut out these and arrange them on my wall instead of all these little paper bits that we have. And then I'm going to use this, and also I'm going to reread my first draft and highlight things in relation to which episode they could fit in, because while I am still going to have to do a full rewrite, what I realized is that a lot of my events can stay the same. I just have to change the context that that plot point is happening in, and also change them around. Like, there was this one thing that happens in the first draft, it's at the midpoint, but then I'm taking out something that happens at the end, so then that thing is moving to the like more like the 3/4 mark, but then that messes up the romance arc, because that kind of thing that happens after that is important for the romance arc. But it's technically a duology, so technically, do I just say that they don't kiss in this book and that it's a slow burn? What I was doing this morning was just what I said I would last night, with sticking everything up on my beautiful little wall. What I also did was I highlighted everything according to the subplot key that I made earlier in this notebook here. Looking at it now, there is a lot of things that is happening in this book. I feel like this book might end up, this draft might end up being a bit too long, because the first draft was like spot on with word count. Like, I think it was almost exactly 100,000 words, but it's definitely going to get bigger because my first draft was missing so much context. I feel like I need to put this down somewhere. My hand is shaking. Yeah, so I have my lovely little wall here, and then what I was doing is where's my laptop? Organizing my Scrivener. If you can see here, I put on the side draft 2 and I divided it into act 1, act 2, act 3, and then all the episodes. And then I was starting to break down that in terms of chapters, and I was figuring out, like, okay, roughly 4 chapters per episode. Not exactly, but just as a rough guideline to plan out how many chapters, 2 from each character's point of view. And then I was thinking about it and I was like, I don't really want to write like a full chapter by chapter outline. Like, that sounds kind of boring. And then I was also rereading my manuscript. I got up to like chapter 3 highlighting things, and I was like, this is so boring, because as of so far, I know it changes later on in the book, but as of so far, everything that I'm highlighting it's remaining in the same spot in the book with just different context. Like, chapter 2 is going to have different events than the current chapter 2, but this conversation that is happening, that I'm like, that is a good conversation that says stuff about the character, that's still happening in draft 2's chapter 2. If that makes sense. I'm going to move this phone again because I feel like the lighting is bad. I don't really want to keep reading all of this. I kind of just want to start writing the book. But then I was like, no, I can't start writing the book because there are so many plot things and so many like world building things that I still feel like I haven't fully figured out. But then I was like, oh, well, does it matter? Because it really all draft 2 will do is be a better version of draft 1. Like, that version doesn't have to be perfect. So do I really need to spend all this time worrying about it? Because as it stands, this is already so much more planned than my draft 1 was. But yeah, then I was crashing out about that, and so I did some painting. It's not finished yet. Oh wait, why does that look so much better on camera than it does in real life? If you like my art, go follow my art Instagram. It will be in the description because I'm trying to turn it into a business because I'm broke and no one will hire me because I'm a uni student and have no free time. I was just sitting here with my calendar trying to figure out like when an appropriate deadline for getting draft 2 done would be. So if I was to get it done before November, how many weeks until November? Might have miscounted, but 28 weeks. And how many chapters did I say? I think when I figured it out with the maths of like 2 per POV per episode, it was 32. But I know in the first draft I have 35. So let's just say 35. If the book stayed the same number of chapters, if I wanted to get it done before November, I would have to write 1.25 chapters a week, which sounds pretty achievable. And then I was like, okay, if this book is going to be like just a little bit longer than the first draft, I feel, let's say 120,000 words. Let's also see how many like words that would be. So it's 1.25 chapters per week or 4,285 words per week, which does sound a lot less achievable, but I think that I could do it. I feel like I should not let that number stress me out because there's no way that 1.25 of my chapters is 4,200 words. I feel like the average length of my chapters were probably like 2,000 words. So that would be like 2 chapters and a quarter instead of 1 1/4. There we go, 31st of October. My goal is to finish Project Astra. And now, I am officially ready to begin chapter 1 of draft 2. And there you go, that is my process of planning draft 2 of what will hopefully be my debut novel. We hope. I am so excited about this, a little bit scared, still don't know what I'm doing, still don't know what happens in Act 3 of the book, but that's okay, I'm sure I will figure it out at some point. Apologies again for the weird lighting and sound. I am not a professional. I am an 18-year-old with a phone and a really dodgy video editor that I have on my laptop. If you would like to have updates on Project Astra, my writing in general, or my art, please subscribe or follow my writing Instagram for writing Instagram. I don't have one of those. I hope you all have a wonderful day and please wish me luck. I'm gonna need it for this draft.